Welcome, everyone, to the 29th episode of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. Joining me is Dr. Games 101.
And simulcasting again for the second time ever. It's been a pleasure for the last year to record your Triple J of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast on this glorious day of September 11th.
Yep. We're not going to be, we really don't have anything planned September 11th wise. We did, because the previous episode around this time of year, last year, is when we talked about our memories of September 11th, where we were when we first heard what happened, and that. So, and those clips have been uploaded to our individual channels on BitChute and I think YouTube also.
I believe so too. Yeah.
So, it wouldn't make much sense to rehash. It's what happened in 2001 is not going to be different in 2021 from what it was in 2020.
Yeah, of course.
So we wouldn't, we would just be repeating ourselves if we were to cover that. But we do have a lot of gaming news to cover, and I guess we'll just talk about it. First, Dr. Games 101. Did you ever hear of a game called Baldo?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure really.
Well, it's a role-playing game. It's a new role-playing game. Unfortunately, the game has a problem where if you save your game, it wipes out all your stats. Basically, you go back to the weakest level that you are at the start of the game when you save your game.
I see. So it's like Deathloop almost, where it's like you play for a few hours or a few minutes. If you die every time or your time's up, you gotta start over and reconfigure the clues again and such and such.
Well, not even that. It's just like, say, as you, at least in role-playing games, you do have to make your weapon stronger. You do have to, you get to extend your health bar. You get to make your attack stronger, yada, yada, yada. When you save your game, all your stats go back to what they were at the beginning, which makes progressing through the rest of the game much harder or almost impossible, because all that grinding you did to increase your levels is gone.
So every time you save, it just deletes itself after saving?
Yep. There's a glitch where if you save your game, basically your levels, from what I heard, get reset.
And it's called Baldo, you said?
Yep.
That sounds like a move made by Albert from the wrestling days. The Baldo Bomb.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with.
I know. It sounds familiar. That's all. That's where I got it from. The Baldo Bomb. Baldo Bomb. 1, 2, 3. Ring the bell. Albert wins the match. It also has A-Train and Tezuka, whatever his fucking Chinese name is.
Well, I've actually just Googled it. Apparently, I found the game no problem, so I had the name right. But so basically, they're claiming that like most of the bugs on PC and like all the bugs on Xbox One have been fixed. Nintendo Switch also have all remaining bugs have been fixed. Lost hearts are rewarded again. Extra coins, orbs will be given for each lost heart. So basically, the developers are at least addressing the issue where anything you lost during the game, you're going to be given back if you lost it because of this glitch. So, now available on Nintendo Switch, patch 10.0.3. Still many little glitches already fixed, and some more to be fixed coming with the next patch. So, at least it's not leaving people who purchased the game up shit's creek without a paddle. Like, too bad for you.
I see.
But yeah, my problem with this is, did no one test this game? We have game testers, do we not?
We don't pay them enough, that's all.
That could also be a problem. But the thing is, if we don't even have game testers, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people that would love to do the job. I'm one of them.
Likewise for me, I won't spend $25 an hour of my time, testing the game for a few hours.
Heck, I'll do it for half that rate. $12.50 an hour, 11 an hour. You know, heck, minimum wage in Georgia is a lot cheaper than it is in New York. I'm not saying I want to work for minimum wage, but if you have such a shortage of game testers, me and Dr. Games 101 are two people willing to do it, and we both got Xbox One, so it's not like we're two retro guys with just retro consoles.
Yes, indeed.
So Baldo, it released with a lot of glitches, but they did release on Twitter today that many of the bugs have been fixed, and but there are still some bugs, depending on the console that you have it for. If some have all been fixed, some may have little bugs here and there that still need to be fixed in the next update.
Okay.
Next game to talk about. How do you feel about battle royale games?
It depends on which one. The one I'm playing the most of is Apex Legends, which has a 3-person squad, and you have a 1 in 20 chance of winning the match. So that's better odds than
well, instead of something like Apex Legends, I was thinking something more along the lines like Super Smash Brothers. How do you feel about games like that?
Okay, fighting style.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind playing Super Smash Brothers for that kind of battle royale type of sense, especially if it's in person or more, because how much you can handle in on the system. But I used to play. I'm part of a Smash Brothers group here, not too far from here in Brooklyn, and basically, so we meet every Saturday or Sunday or twice a week for playing like 3 hours, 4 hours, sometimes even 5 hours. And we beat each other, or we practice, or we train, or that type of stuff. So it was a pretty interesting experience. And you get a discount off of the burger and fries that you order at the restaurant, which is called Action Burger 2.0 now. So it's pretty cool. Check it out.
Okay, well, the reason I was talking about Super Smash Brothers, and the reason I called it Battle Royale is I was thinking a PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale that had PlayStation characters beating up each other.
I've heard of that.
There's a new fighting game like that that's been getting a lot of attention. I want to make sure I get the name right. It's Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl. Basically, characters from Nickelodeon, even old school cartoons like Real Monsters to SpongeBob and other characters, basically fighting each other, and this game has been getting a lot of attention. Would this be a game that you would be interested in, or?
Yeah, why not? Even though it's for kids, but I'm sure it's a teenager-rated game, most likely. So for me, it's like I don't mind playing a game sort of that caliber, especially if it's in a format like a Super Smash Brothers kind of way. So you never know. There'll be a good competition for Super Smash Brothers to go up against Nickelodeon. So.
And it's actually, this game is coming out pretty soon in fall. I want to see if we can get. It's coming out next month, October.
Yep, that's the now.
And they have, and I do have. The game currently features 20 confirmed playable characters from 13 Nickelodeon series, with more to be revealed leading up to release. These are the ones that they've already confirmed. From Our Real Monsters, they have Oblina. She was the black and white monster. Yep. She was the female of the group.
The Candy Cane monster.
Yeah, well, Candy Canes were black and white.
Pretty much.
From Avatar: The Last Airbender, they have Aang. Okay, that cartoon is after my time. Mm-hmm. From Cat Dog, they have Cat Dog. From Danny Phantom, they have Danny Phantom. From Hey Arnold, they have Helga Pataki.
They should let Arnold be part of the main roster of that. From that.
Well, like I said, this game still has like 3 weeks before release, and you know this game's gonna have DLC if it sells well.
Oh yeah.
So even if Arnold isn't part of the day one roster, I bet he'll be in it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
From Invader Zim, they have Zim. From the Legend of Korra, they have Korra. From the Loud House, they have Lincoln Loud and Lucy Loud. From the Ren and Stimpy show, they have Ren, Stimpy, and Powdered Toast Man. I have no idea who the third one is.
It's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, but the ghetto version in the cartoon series. Because you ever had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal? It's like that, but a very ecstatic, very weird version of itself, beat all buff and tough. With biceps, like the big ass biceps, like Scott Steiner style. That's what it's like, that Powdered Toast Man guy.
Okay.
He has Bill come with it too, so it might be a special move off himself.
From Rugrats, they have Reptar, who was their version of Godzilla.
Yes.
From SpongeBob SquarePants, they have SpongeBob, Patrick Star, and Sandy Cheek.
That's a good trio right there.
I think was Sandy like his SpongeBob's girlfriend?
If you want to be in a mature audience sense, yes. There have been us guys who are our 30s say that Sandy and SpongeBob were like closer than friends at one point.
Oh,
they don't show it. They don't show it on TV, but eventually we see them together having a good time. They like cry. They hug each other and stuff like that. So, hell, my friend who's also part of the apartment complex as a landlord, he actually had he made a meme saying that when you're about to give your out to your girlfriend and give her a hug in the bedroom. It was funny as hell. I shot actually for this meme, but it's funny as hell. It's a funny meme he made.
I think this conversation took a dark turn.
What's that?
I think this conversation took a dark turn.
Yes, I'm sorry about that, guys. Well, if you're over 30, you'll understand what I mean by that matter. So, but anyway,
yes.
But yeah, rumors about it matter.
Okay, from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they have Leonardo, Michelangelo, and April O'Neil.
Oh, she had that yellow jumpsuit on.
And from the Wild Thornberries, they have Nigel.
Yeah, that's fine.
Who was the father.
Obviously.
Not a bad cast. I did forget Nickelodeon has the rights to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so I bet we'll be seeing Raphael, Donatello, and maybe even Splinter joining the roster at some point.
Or Shredder.
Or all of them.
But here's the thing I found about his thing back in 2012. While I was still in the hospital, I was listening to a lot of radio. So on this station called WNYC, they had a program bringing on one of the some sort of creator, marketer, or one of those two aspects of the series. They said they had rights to it back then and remade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before the remake of 2018, 2019. So basically, this is a remake from like 10 years ago. And that's what they're talking about, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of... If you want to see, like, remade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they made a bunch of games on it. One game was titled TMNT, which was, I think, like, the more adult game. But then they made the Nickelodeon game that was $10 brand new at GameStop, which I unfortunately purchased. And they had April O'Neil as a 10-year-old kid, and I'm like, what the hell is this that I'm playing? But my question is, since you watched Nickelodeon when you were young, right?
Lots of hours. All that, Kenan and Kel, my brother and me, Sabrina. The St. Jones and Alex Max.
Well, mostly this would probably be from. Well, I mean, what characters from Nickelodeon would you like to see in this game that hasn't already been?
Alex Max. Or Alex, whatever her last name is.
Wow. Alex Mack. That I haven't thought about that show in years.
Yeah, she does liquid. Like, she can be a good transporter to, like, if you have, it's a 2-on-2 at the same time like they have Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the game. If they do something with Alex Mack where they can transfer each other's abilities from one part of the map to the other part of the map, that would be a good ability right there.
Yeah. Um, for wow, that was actually a good answer. I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, you have to
Um,
really watch a lot of hours of back when you were a kid. Because I used to. Here's the thing, though. I was forced by 10 years old to study more. So from like 7 years old till 10 years old, I watched a lot of Nickelodeon, a lot of Cartoon Network, a lot, many hours. But for
yeah,
you, what
well,
time I play video
one
games?
one franchise I didn't see any characters from that I would like to see if I maybe from the cartoon Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh yeah, that can be good. You use Heifer as like a tackling ram or some shit like that.
Yeah, or maybe just have I forget the turtle's name, but have
Filbert,
Rocco
Filbert.
okay, yeah, but say have Rocco and his two best friends, you know, that way if this game does have a team mode, which I'm not sure if it will, you could have that, or you could just play, but then again, we also have to keep in mind some of the shows that we're talking about, they might not have the rights to anymore, which would be a problem.
Oh no, they have to have the rights Nickelodeon. They sell Locust Smarter Than Life or Rugrats or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, well, the reason I say that is because these cartoons aren't even on Nickelodeon. If you want to find these cartoons offline, you have to watch like a network like Noggin.
Or if you want to be a pirate,
Yeah, well, I said offline, or like I mean, for example, the show Doug was purchased by Disney.
no way. Really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
when they had that movie, it was made. I'll actually bring it up, but I'm pretty sure like the only movie based on Doug was made by Disney. Not who owns the rights to Doug. Although Nickelodeon retains the rights to distribute the original episodes it financed, which still air on Paramount Network and in syndication, Disney bought the Doug trademark and rights to all future products in all media, including publishing and merchandising.
So Nickelodeon
So,
technically has the rights to it still.
no, Nickelodeon has the rights to the episodes they made.
Oh,
Disney owns the rights to everything else.
the new shit, whatever that new
Yeah,
stuff is.
yeah, but like if anyone wanted to put Doug or like or Doug's characters like in a video game like this, they would have to work with Disney.
Hmm.
Yeah, so but again, to say for since they have like the rights to Rugrats, I would like the four Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil. I wonder if they'll be in the game.
Okay.
Um, I just sticking to the cartoons that have been confirmed. Uh, like Rugrats is the only one I really know well, and Hey Arnold. They definitely have to get some more characters from Hey Arnold. Not that Helga's bad or anything. It's just they got so many more interesting characters. I feel like one would just be a waste.
Of course, yeah, of course.
All right. So from games that have promise. Before we move on, this game out Nickelodeon All Stars has been getting a lot of attention. Is that surprising to you, or do you think maybe people like us are helping the game get so much attention because it's something from our childhood?
And the game refers to Solid Colors, right?
Yeah, that we'll talk about in a few minutes. My last question about Nickelodeon All Stars is: do you the game's been getting a lot of attention online? My question to you is: do you think the game's getting so much attention because of people like us who grew up with Nickelodeon
Oh
and have
yeah.
fond memories of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. We relive the sale and the selling of the product to us as consumers back when we were kids. We didn't have much money back then, but my parents did. So they know that when we grow up, we're gonna share that with our children or with ourselves first, and then with our children later, or any other friend that's under 18 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's something that we'll cherish a lot longer. But But after a while, I would say this though, they have like one of those online matchmaking programs for the game. It will last for a few weeks to a couple of months, and after that, it will die off because most of the players are going to be like over 30, and most of the time we're not going to have time to work as much or play as much, excuse me. Because we got jobs, we got family, or we have to take care of the household, that type of stuff. So it's kind of like, like that old Crash Bandicoot team racing of my Nitro Fuel. Dude, there was like so many people playing it the first 2 or 3 months, and by the 6th month, everyone just left. Especially in the late at night, like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I play, and it's like maybe 2 other people playing the game in the lobby. A one matchmaking opportunity. That's it. So, as that example,
I don't think that's going to happen here, because we were talking about shows from our past, but they also brought up shows that I've never heard of, like The Legend of Korra, Invader Zim, The Loud House. I think the reason that including these newer cartoons is to appeal to kids of today.
that too. That's another reason. Because
I think as long as the roster doesn't get too lopsided, they include the cast of characters, enough characters from today's Nickelodeon, and enough characters from shows that we'll remember, like Hey Arnold, Rugrats, The Wild Thornberries.
Yeah.
As long as they have a mix of characters from, say, both generations, I think when people like us are going to work and stuff, kids that really like Nickelodeon are gonna play this game, and as long as you're not getting kids that are just spamming the achievement list, I think they would play it. So we would always find matches, at least during normal hours. If you try to find a match at 1 a.m., I'd like to know what kid is up at 1 a.m. unless it's Friday or Saturday night.
I see.
Sure.
And also too the fact that since we're old now, we don't have to really play the game per se right away. We will play it right away for some of us, but we will tell the kids I'm sure. I met some of my friends who are over 35 years old, and they know Nickelodeon like the back of their hand. And the way they put out memes, like I told you about SpongeBob and Sandy, they do the same thing with other characters as well. So it's kind of like these group of people I meet on Facebook, and some of them are part of my, like I said, landlord's staff whatever, because I meet them in the restaurants of our neighborhood and stuff like that. So basically, it's kind of like a one giant nostalgia moment for all of us as gamers, whether we're 25, 30 years old, and the kids who are like 15, even down to 8 years old. As long as I make it T for team, it can balance out the violence, balance out the quality of the game, the content. Might include some cigarette smoking, like they were the Jack's racing game. You ever played a Jack racing game before? I had my basically the Jack racing game was a demo on a demo disc back in 2005, 2004. And my ex-girlfriend and I at the time, she and I were playing at the demo, and she was surprised that we saw a cigarette smoking in the game. Like, what? Like, you don't see that in today's world, Yeah. So that's just one example, of course, the nostalgia of it all.
Well, I mean, I don't think they're gonna do anything that would get them a T for T rating. Most Disney games are like E for everyone anyway. I think cartoon violence they could get away with like E or at least E10.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna, because the thing is they're not gonna anything that's too. I mean, Ren and Stimpy, for crying out loud, that's probably the show pushing the most envelope that has representation in this game.
Because I say it has to be teen at least. Ren and Stimpy, or Our Real Monsters. Because think about this, Ren and Stimpy is like toilet humor, pretty much.
And Ren and Stimpy, I'll give that to you. But I watched Real Monsters a few times as a kid, and I don't remember anything that I would classify as needing to be watched by teens.
Well, okay, we have to understand the fact that things have changed over the last 25 years since last time we saw these shows on TV constantly,
Right.
and the SJWs, the feminists are now mothers in this generation of us 30-year-olds, so they're gonna be like, I don't want this game to be involved with my child anymore. This is too violent. It's too disgusting. It's too toiletry, too toilet humor. It'd be like Kyle's mom from South Park almost, for that movie, Bigger, Better.
Just with no comedic relief.
Yes.
I get that. Ren and Stimpy, yeah, I could imagine. You're right about that. I could imagine that because that show it was to be gross. That was the whole point of the show. The guy who created it actually made a deal with Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon told him, "Hey, if you do more touching episodes, we'll let you do more of the gross episodes that you want to do." And he jumped at the opportunity. I don't know if that show's even still in production or if Ren and Stimpy has ceased.
It's on an alternative Nickelodeon station now on Verizon's TV programming as of 3-4 years ago. Last time I watched it. So there's two stations called Nick and Nick 2, and they play all sorts of old school shit. Ren and Stimpy at 3 a.m., Doug around 4 o'clock in the morning. Real Monsters, I'm not sure about. It's a hit and miss because they don't tell the exact timeline for when they broadcast it. They did put Real Monsters in that one of those slots one time. This went back 4 or 5 years ago. Last time I watched it on TV before I went to the internet fully for everything.
Well, I think I'm trying to look up the original one. From what it looks like, the show looks like it was on from like 91 to 96. That was the original premiere dates of the episodes. But I don't know. The last appearance, Stimpy's Pregnant, Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon in 2003. Wow. Mm-hmm. So Ren and Stimpy have not been. But my point was, have Ren and Stimpy been used like were new episodes still being made, or was it all reruns?
Reruns.
Yeah. Now I know.
Only on those two stations last time I checked. Other than that, if you want to see the newest stuff, which used to be regular Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon something alternative. It's called, I know what it's called. Nicktoons and Nicktoons 2, if I recall correctly. Those are the stations that have the old school Nickelodeon shows.
And since we're talking about old school Nickelodeon shows, this was years ago, so I don't know if it's still current or not. There was a TV network called Noggin, which aired all old Nickelodeon shows. I'm talking shows like Clarissa Explains It All, anything from that we used to watch back when we were kids on Nickelodeon. Like all the shows we would recognize. Rocko's Modern Life. Clarissa Explains It All. I didn't see Are You Afraid of the Dark on there. Rugrats. All those shows were on Noggin.
Yes, as of today, I'm certain. Yeah.
Okay. Last time I checked, anyway. Yeah, like I said, I haven't.
Because when I looked at Noggin's website, it turned from like a regular Nickelodeon alternative to an old pre-pubescent toddler-like show like that, Blue's Clues, or Dora the Explorer-like matter. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I think like when it comes to cartoons like that were on Nickelodeon from the past generation, from our generation, they went to Noggin.
And then Noggin, as of like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, went to do small kids stuff.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised if like shows like Wild and Crazy Kids even made it to Noggin.
Wild and Crazy Kids, is that one of those game shows?
Yeah.
Oh, what about that big that jungle theme type of TV show?
Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Yeah, with the big ass mascot, the big head and all that talking and shit. That was pretty cool. And he's like, "Well, guys, it's time to go."
Yeah, I don't even. Was that Nickelodeon? I don't remember.
It was Nickelodeon.
Okay. Yeah, Legends of the Hidden Temple. That was one of my favorites.
After like 5 years of watching it, I know it was reruns, but after a while, it's still cool to watch them go through the trials and tribulations.
Yeah, like first was like swimming through that moat and like having to hit the buzzer and like the first four of the six would qualify, and then
Yeah, I was a fat kid. I was never gonna go past the first round. If they invite me to that show, I'll be the last. I'll be the first to go. I'm like, look at the fat kid on TV. That's Dr. Gabe. Look at him. That fat fuck.
yeah,
I
you
know I
jump
got
off the
enemies.
Congo net in the middle of the moat, cause like a big splash.
Yeah, the whole camera has like water and swamp like shit all over itself.
Actually, it's funny you say that. I remember watching Legends of the Hidden Temple one time when it was on, and that like someone ran to like hit the buzzer, but they hit it so hard like the bell, like the button on top of the buzzer fell off.
Really?
So they went to like an advertisement or something, thinking, we have the teams that advance to the next round. And then when they come back from the advertisement, it wasn't a commercial break, it was like a 30-second spot. When they came back from the 30-second spot, the host, I forget his name, was talking with another team, was standing with another team saying, and he's like, actually this team has qualified for, and the team that like knocked that I guess broke the buzzer or whatever was not in the next round. And I just remember thinking, wow, how did they hit it so hard that they broke it?
And the kid must be not even like strong like Hercules from the 1990s. The Hercules kid from the 90s.
Yeah, he ran to hit the buzzer and he hit it like so hard that like the top of it fell off. And I'm like, I've never seen that before.
Well, maybe it's made in China.
Maybe. But
It
yeah,
wasn't
speaking
started at all. Our teachers, they told us that within 25 years, China will be the first economic superpower. And look what happens.
yeah. Well, speaking of other TV, other shows from Nickelodeon, game shows, remember Nick Arcade and Double Dare?
I watched Double Dare plenty of times. There was all that slime and shit.
Yep. First, it was Double Dare with two teams of two kids. Then then like during the mid '90s, they made it Family Double Dare, so the whole family could join, and it could become a family show.
Oh yeah, that was good times.
Which, to be fair, the show was still just as entertaining as it was in its original form.
And I heard there been a reboot of the series. I'm not sure when though. They say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but never heard from it since.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, they just can't get any host. Mark Summers, I think, was the original host,
Okay.
and he did the show really good. And something I learned watching Nostalgia Critics videos when he covered Double Dare. Mark Summers had like OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Oh wow.
So he hated like getting messy. He hated things being out of place. Like even his carpet had tassels. Those tassels had to be like straightened out. And he was open talking about his OCD. And it's like a guy like this did one of the messiest game shows probably ever.
That's why I kept him after a few months to a couple of years.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but the thing is, I feel like if they do reboot it, it's just going to be a letdown from what it used to be.
Why would you
Again,
say that?
Go on.
Well, why would you say it would be a letdown?
Because anytime anybody reboots anything, it usually fails.
Well, it depends because, sure, it's the year 2021 right now. There's a lot of SJWs in the world. There's a lot of sensitive, biatches, you want to call them, and
Right.
obviously there's going to be a lot of complaining about these shows in the short term, going into the long term. But as long as they keep the theme consistent, make sure it's a family run program or a family theme program, they have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like those TV shows. of course, I'm veering off topic, but in similarity, there's these shows. It's always Sunny in Philadelphia and to Curb Your Enthusiasm. Those shows were for over 10 years, or if not more so, and they still have they got flack for it, yes, but the SJWs they can't take it off the air. It's just too good of a show to keep it going.
Yeah, and if the network is making a lot of money from advertisers during that show, good luck getting the network to take it off.
I mean, I wish I could watch the first season fully of Curb Your Enthusiasm or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but at this rate, I don't have the money for it, and and if I want to pirate the matter, it's going to take a long ass time to look for other places for other episodes. So it's like I'd rather wait until I save up money. If you can donate to us guys, that'll be great, and we can do a review of the show of each episode for myself, and that'll be great. I'll be like, yo, just that anything happened, and if you can. But other than that, if I have my own money, I definitely will contribute and do a little review of each season. So that's what
if you want to do that, okay, they got a box set of like the first 8. How many Curb Your Enthusiasm? How many seasons did that last? Do you know?
It's still continuing. Last time I checked, I think it has like 11 seasons, and Danny DeVito is part of the last few seasons.
Okay, because I just Google searched to see what popped up. They have like the first 8 seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm in a DVD box set for like $75.
That's not that bad. I got my James Bond 50th anniversary box for about $75. So.
Okay, and yeah, think about it. You're talking about 8 seasons. I mean,
that's like $10, $7 per season. So that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So again, if you want to do that, you could. I don't know if I would stick. I don't know if I would do that. The only TV show that I love enough to review would be Supernatural.
Oh yeah, you say you love that show.
Yeah.
I might help you with
but again,
copy it for yourself.
I don't know if enough people that watch my stuff would be interested in seeing it, and like getting footage or using picture stills from episodes would be a pain, since I got like a couple DVDs that don't work anymore.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on. Sonic Colors Ultimate Debacle on Nintendo Switch. Sonic Colors came out on the Wii like 10 years ago. So they made Sonic Colors for the Switch. And it's made by the same people who made the WWE 2K18 port on the Switch.
Okay.
Which sucked. Which didn't work. And Sonic Colors Ultimate, there's been graphical problems. There's been problems with this game ever since it come out.
I heard about the glitches. It's to the point where the Sonic character himself, along with the background and the design of the levels and all, it's just one big catastrophic, epileptic moment. Like if you have epilepsy and you see all those flashes on the screen and such, it might cause you epilepsy in the very short term. So yeah, that's how bad it's gotten with that glitches.
Yep. Sonic Colors Ultimate for Nintendo Switch review, the port that tarnishes the reputation. Sonic Colors Ultimate uses Denuvo and suffers from stuttering issues on PC. Kotaku says Ultimate glitches could cause seizures. So, to the people that developed this game, I have no idea I don't know the name of the company right now.
Sega?
Good job, guys.
Sega?
To the company that developed this Sonic Colors Ultimate for the Switch, I said, "Good job, guys," and I was being facetious.
Okay, but it must have Sega that made the game again, because they're in charge of the making of the Sonic games still.
Yeah, I mean, when you make a game that can cause seizures, you really messed up.
Yeah, they
And
should have left it alone. Maybe create like the
and
20-year anniversary of Sonic Colors another 10 years from now when they fix out the bugs.
and what happened is they made WWE 2K18 for the Switch, and that was awful because like anytime you had a match with more than two wrestlers, the game would stutter
Or slow down.
at like a flip book page, like those books where you flip the pages and
Frame
like
rate.
it plays out a little movie.
The frame rate.
Yeah, the game would go to that slow of a frame rate anytime more than two wrestlers were on the screen.
Especially on No Mercy, the game.
Huh?
Especially No Mercy.
No, no. I'm talking about 2K18 for the Switch.
Oh, I was talking about also as another example back in the day of
Because the company that made Sonic Colors Ultimate also made WWE 2K18 Switch port.
Interesting.
So yeah, good job, guys. You hit it out of the park again. You just hit it through the windshield of a car. I think we can move on from that.
Definitely.
No Man's Sky is getting mostly positive reviews. Have you heard about this turnaround in the opinion on No Man's Sky?
Surprisingly, yes, I hear that people say it's a good game now after all these months later. Because back during its pre-release, or I should say right after its release, there was these people that were so excited about the game that they threatened. No, some guy threatened with a death threat directly to the one developers that made No Man's Sky into what it was back then. So it was pissed off for a lot of followers and as well as gamers who wanted to get that good experience of planetary exploration. But now all of a sudden, 2 years later, almost months later at least, now it's a good thing. So
yeah. So what happened? A lot of people were disappointed with the game. They had all these expectations, and the game didn't even deliver close to those expectations when the game first came out.
oh yeah.
Now, because the developers did not abandon the game, No Man's Sky has a lot of content that people were hoping for when the game first came out. And now people who never played the game are experiencing No Man's Sky for the first time, and they're like, wow, this is great. This is what was promised. And I gotta say, great job to the guys from No Man's Sky. Usually, it would be really hard to overcome a bad reputation, but these developers worked hard on the game, continued supporting it until they turned the game around. I guess.
Very rare moments in our current
history. It's very rare for any gaming company to once the game has a bad reputation to turn that reputation around. But the developers of No Man's Sky, I just want to Hello Games, which is the developer. They did it. They made No Man's Sky the game everyone wanted it to be, and I just think it's impressive how they changed the reputation of this game from being so bad and so disappointing to being what everyone wanted.
Oh yeah.
All right. Next topic. Was the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series released too early?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, do you want to elaborate or?
Yes, here's the situation. Obviously, they knew that as early as February, if not March of 2020, that there was a pandemic going on, and to point people were panicking rather than like living a good life at one point prior to all this mask mandate and vaccine passports. So they should have waited for at least another year, which is right now, to sell it as a launch title with the newer games like Zelda, Bridge of Spirits. There's also the remake of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 coming out sometime this year or next year. So it would have saved them lots of money for them just to wait another year and a half because of the chip shortage, the battery shortage, and the battery problem with PS5 specifically. Because I'm sure you heard about that battery too, where the CMOS batteries, I think it's called, where it doesn't maintain the saving of your games or saving of your of archival information of your console. So when PS5 shuts down of its services online, you can still play it offline if you still have the battery. But if the battery after 5 years lasts, then it's useless. Then the PS5 turns into a brick. So that's
your console. Once that battery dies, once the CMOS battery dies, your console becomes a paperweight, basically.
Oh yes, and now all of a sudden they waited a month, a year, and about almost a year now since release. They released these other supposed new games because they pushed back the dates of Halo Infinite. They pushed back the dates of Back 4 Blood at one point. Then there's also movies like James Bond with the No Time to Die. That was pushed back from like late last year until like October, November, December of this year. So it's like, we're anticipating for these good titles and movies to come out. Now all of a sudden it's like, it's off key. Like, who wants to really buy right this second? So,
right. Now, well, like I said, I felt not to cut you off. Were you done?
I'm done pretty much for now.
Okay. I felt the PS4 and Xbox One was released too early when they first came out in, I think, 2014, 2013?
Okay.
Whatever year it was. No, I think it was 2014. That's the year I was fired from my full-time job. And I couldn't get those consoles. I felt those consoles were made too early because PS4 and Xbox One, they did the whole, we're going to treat consoles like computers, and we're going to have iterations released every 2 years, and we see how well that worked out. And then the PS4 Pro was so much more powerful than the regular PS4. The Xbox One S and X was so much more powerful than the original Xbox One. And it's just like these later iterations should have been the base consoles. Mm-hmm. We should have waited till 2016 or whatever for the Xbox One and the new PS4 and Xbox One to release their consoles, because the base Xbox One and base PS4 was not much more powerful than what we already had.
Right.
So again, you should, but unfortunately, Sony and Microsoft, like Britney Spears, oops, I did it again. They released a console that's just not powerful. But in this instance, they just they just released it during the worst financial time since probably the Great Depression. And with so many places shut down, games couldn't be made. I mean, so like the games coming out look great. Now we're going to cover a few of them, but just again, they picked like the worst time financially to release these consoles, when they could have just taken another year or two and released them when the world was at a better state financially, and when the technology could have actually been a big step above what was released last gen.
I see.
That's one thing that I still haven't gotten over with the PS4 and Xbox One base consoles. Why would you release something? And some people have defended it by saying, "Oh well, it's been so long since they released a console, they had to release something." That's bullcrap. Why would you release a console and expect full price, $500, $400, $600, whatever it was, for a console that's not much more powerful than consoles that have been on the market for a few years?
Good point. Very good point.
So that's why I'm saying, the more advanced ones should have been released as the base consoles. Forget the actual base consoles, and the PS5, Xbox Series. Um, whether the specifications, I'm not sure how the specs measure up. I don't remember how the specs measure up.
If you want me to elaborate on the matter of the S and X, the S is the lesser version of the X.
That I know, yeah.
Say that again.
I know the Xbox One, Series S is an all digital console, and Xbox Series X is a console that can play physical disc. I think the PS5 even has their own all digital and all physical console as well.
But with the S version, Xbox Series X, that's like lower frame rate, lower quality, everything else with the console for the cheaper, more expensive, not more expensive, but for the more affordable person out there to buy the game. That's a gamer. Now, if you want the advanced stuff like 60 frames per second easily, 4K easily on your gaming experience, and you got 600 to spend with a game that is with the console, then X is good. Series X is good. That's good for you. So
yes. So, but I'm just saying, this time it wasn't, I'm just saying I don't know how the Xbox Series measures up to the Xbox One and how the PS5 measures up to the PS4. But this time they released consoles at a bad financial time when they could have just taken the time, wait till factories got back to work so they could mass produce these chips and mass produce the parts that are needed. So we're not running into shortages every time a new store gets a shipment.
Well, this is the first time in a very long while we actually have a delay in the game with transactions between the developers, the distributors, and the gamers themselves. So the last time we had something like this was back during the gaming crash of 1985 or 84. But even that, something like that, around that time, right before Nintendo took over. But even at that time, there was no shortage of any chips or no shortage of any problems with what's going on in today's world. The only problem with the gaming crash at the time was that there was too many games flooded into the market by third-party bad beans, meaning that the lock-in mechanism behind Atari wasn't they allow any schmuck, no offense to anyone out there, any average person to make their own video game without no licensing.
Actually, that's not true. What happened with these third-party games is people just found out how the console worked. They backwards engineered it, and then they said, okay, if we want the Atari to read our cartridges, we have to create our cartridges this way, and then the third party would create their own games. And there was no way to. And then when these parties created their games, they would ship it to the stores, and there was nothing Atari or any other game developer could do. In Television, ColecoVision, there was nothing they could do. It's just, hey, this company created something that works on your console. But nowadays, like say you want to create a game for Microsoft or Sony, you need to get a license, you need to get their approval. You can't just backwards engineer the PS4 or Xbox One and get your game sold in stores without the permission of the console you want it to play on. Back then, they didn't need that.
Right.
So it's not Atari was allowing any Tom, Dick, and Harry, as the saying goes, to make their games. It's just Tom, Dick, and Harry were making their games and saying, if Atari doesn't like it, screw you, we're making a game for the Atari anyway.
And now there's licensing, there's rating boards. You can't just make whoever gave you one out of scratch, they're going to make money off of selling it through their console with ease. Now you get approval for the matter.
The rating board wasn't really even that about third-party games. It was about games that people were being too much of a crybaby over, like Night Trap, which is the most famous example, or Mortal Kombat, which had the blood removed in the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah.
And the fighters bleed sand. in the first one.
Sand.
That's. And have you ever played the first Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo?
I got the first 3 Mortal Kombat's on Super Nintendo cartridges.
Okay, play the first one and pay attention to what happens when the character gets hit.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Kombat 2 and 3, they brought back the blood.
Yeah. But the first one, they would fighters would bleed sand when you hit them.
There's also a Xbox 360 PS3 versions of the trilogy of Mortal Kombat 1 through 3. So I advise you to get that copy if you can.
Well, I've never really been a big fan of Mortal Kombat, so I don't. It's not something I would play. It's not something I would play a lot.
Understood.
But yeah, so the rating board was just about basically games have gone too far. Oh, where have we heard that before? And the gaming crash was about people who felt gypped because they thought they were buying games when they were buying unlicensed hacks that was somehow still sold in stores.
Especially with Blockbuster back in the 80s, where Blockbuster will buy up all these copies from like the retail stores and resell them as rental copies on their shelves. But then by the late 1980s, early 2000s, they regulate the shit out of that aspect. And now Blockbuster can only do but so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I heard that there's still one Blockbuster left in America.
Yeah, the Oregon location.
Yeah. I hope they're doing good. It's a shame because Blockbuster was a part of my childhood, and when they shut down on Merrick Road in Valley Stream, that was like part of my childhood shutting down.
Okay.
And they replaced it with a 7-Eleven and a paint store. And the whole problem with that is no one's going to 7-Eleven on Merrick Road. Everyone goes to the one on Central Avenue because that's the one closer to the schools. So students that don't even drive can still get food from 7-Eleven. So what was the point of opening it on Merrick Road? Again, I don't run the company, so.
Of course, I understand. They don't want to hear us peasants. They want to hear you give them money. That's about it.
Yeah. So anyway, back to wrap this. So to wrap this up, I agree with Dr. Games 101. The PS5 and Xbox Series was released too early, and I really think they should have waited until like this whole pandemic or this whole Rubaka virus. I'm not sure what Twitch will allow me to say, so I don't want to say it out, the actual name. They should have just waited till this whole situation was done with, and most of the country at least was back to normal.
Right. And we're still not back to normal because we still have the mask mandate, we still have the passports, and some of the courts are still have delayed progress going on for the last several months still. So whatever these leaders in our country and as well as within our states are doing, some of them are doing a good job, like the governor of Florida, they're doing okay. And Georgia, I'm not sure about your location, Triple J. So, but here in New York State, it's like fucking. I want to say it's not like Nazi Germany per yet, but to those who never were vaccinated, like myself, never took the test, never went to the center for testing. We're stuck at home, or we actually use cash and other alternative underground means to have a good time, whatever. So
yeah, that's one thing. At least we could go here. We can still pick up food and go wherever we want, and not need vaccine passports.
Thank goodness they put vaccine passports on the Amazon shipments, because now I could buy bulk cheeseburgers or bulk yogurt and stuff like that for a few extra dollars. I know, but thanks to the added fare or the added amount they added to the food stamps and other benefits to most people in New York City, they gave us a break. So they restrict everyone to a great extent. They're still looking out for New Yorkers in the overall sense. So De Blasio, he may be a bad mayor overall, but he has other aspects he tried to do for the city based on his image. So he tried to give out homeless shelters, and free food at the cafeteria at schools during the summertime. So anything's possible. So.
Well, I just say, what everyone I feel should do about this situation, you know what? Just reopen completely. No vaccine passport BS, no nothing. And if someone is really susceptible to this pandemic, just keep them home, keep them, safe. And I mean, I'm not saying they have to be quarantined, but they would have to be quarantined if they were suspected of catching it anyway.
Right.
But just keep the people that are really at risk of this safe, and just reopen the country. I mean, I think the worst thing we did was locking down. I like what Tim Pool says. 15 days to cover the spread turned into day 509.
This was never like this back in previous viral outbreaks or viral epidemics. So we had H1N1. We had the
swine flu.
Disease, swine flu, yeah. H1N1 was swine flu, same thing pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Mad cow, Zika, SARS. We never had anything like this before.
They no matter how much they reported on these things, they always, like they would report on swine flu like that was going to be the next bubonic plague, but did they ever shut down the cities or towns or states for swine flu? No. And now but they decided to shut down the states, and then governors, at least Democratic governors, got a thirst for power and realized they could be dictators if they chose not to reopen their states.
Especially Como and Newsom.
Yeah. Newsom might be out of office, depending if Larry Elder gets enough votes.
Larry's going to win. I know he's going to win.
Yeah, so and for anyone who still supports, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but for anyone who still supports Democrats, first off, I question your intelligence or lack thereof. Second, did you see when Joe Biden went to New Jersey, people were actually booing him and telling him to get the hell out of there?
Yeah, I saw a clip of that.
Yeah, New Jersey, which always voted Democrat, as long as I remember, doesn't want anything to do with Biden. So if your safe states that always voted for your party don't want anything to do with you, how much of a screw up must you be? Anyway, let's move on.
Joe Biden should have run for president 30 years ago. Then he'll be a more of an exceptional Democrat to every Democratic Party member. So.
Yeah, but that guy's not that. The only problem with that guy is we got Kamala Harris, and we go from demented sociopath to sociopath. Anyway,
yes.
we talk a lot about Xbox Live games with gold. What their releases will be. PlayStation Plus is going to be releasing a few games.
Like what?
These are the PlayStation Plus games offered for September. They're going to be releasing both Overcooked games. Both games will contain all DLC. They're going to have Predator, and they're going to have Hitman 2. And it's not Hitman 2 from like the PlayStation 2 days. It's Hitman 2 PS4 Xbox One version.
Yeah, not the Silent Assassins version from 2002.
Right, it's going to be the Hitman 2 that was the Hitman, the complete first season that came out for Xbox One in 2016.
Yep.
The Hitman 2 that was the sequel to that is coming out as a PlayStation Plus game.
Speaking of the first Hitman, 2016, did you see that promo between those two old guys saying that I will explode you?
No, I didn't see it.
That was funny. The way he said it didn't sound like it coming from him.
Okay. I played the first Hitman. I didn't like it because I couldn't figure out. After the tutorial, I couldn't figure out how to get past the first mission. My cousin and I played the game for like 6 hours the first night. I got it,
Okay.
and like we just couldn't assassinate the targets without getting caught. So and I even tried a few times playing the game a few times later before I sold it. So I don't know if Hitman 2, I guess 2018 was the year it came out.
2019, 2018, give or take, yeah.
Okay, 2018, 2019, whichever one it was. I wouldn't have any interest in it. Predator, I never played. I've always let me look up that game. As far as Overcooked goes, Overcooked and Overcooked 2, all DLC will be
I need you.
will be coming with the game.
I'm in the hallway. I need you to pick up for me.
Give me a sec, few minutes, Debbie. Thank you. Sorry about that, gentlemen.
It's okay. Predator Haunting Grounds, it's getting mediocre reviews. Audience reviews are really good. So would you be interested in any of these games if you had PlayStation Plus?
I never play Overcooked, so I'll try it out for a few minutes to an hour. You know, why not? Predator, if you're referring to to Alien vs. Predator, the original video games, then I'll definitely will play that. Definitely. Hitman 2, I'm familiar with the Hitman series. I played Hitman 2, Silent Assassins, the 2002 video game, for many, many hours at a time, and I still remember the music and and the action, the silencing, the stealth mode, everything else in that game was pretty good, But with the newest generation of Hitman games, Hitman 1, Hitman 2, Hitman 3 from 2016 to now, as of March 2021, well, it's average, I heard, at best. But I'll still play if I ever have to, if I have PS4 or a PS5.
Okay, well, these games did come out for Xbox One. At least I know Overcooked does because I have the first Overcooked. I know, and I'm pretty sure Hitman 2 came out across all games. The only difference is if we wanted to play them, we would have to buy them. PlayStation Plus is offering these games for free this month.
Right.
So, Hitman 2, I probably wouldn't care too much about. But Overcooked, I definitely love. I'm stuck like on World 6 in the original. And Predator, I would play. The reviews coming from like critics have been like average, 2 stars, 3 stars. But audience reviews, people seem to love it. Next topic. We did get some PlayStation 5. They had Sony had their event on September 9th, showing out new games that were coming out.
Okay.
The first one is I got the names of a few that I want to discuss. The first one, Star Wars: Knight of the Old Republic remake. Wasn't Star Wars: Knight of the Old Republic like on the original Xbox? Wasn't that like a role-playing game?
It was for the Xbox original at PS2 game, if I recall correctly.
Okay, but it was like a role-playing game, right?
I'm not sure it was role-play, but it's definitely involved like action, lightsaber action, things that matter.
Okay, but didn't like you have choices to make and like dialogue choices?
They're mostly from Forces Unleashed 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
The new one, because the Knights of the Old Republic is having a remake, like I think you mentioned just now. They have a remake for next year, so for the PS5 only.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I used to have Star Wars I think, like you said, for PS2 and Xbox, I think I had the Xbox version, Knights of the Old Republic. Just it wasn't a Star Wars game I got interested in, but like from the few minutes that I did play of it, it looked like it was kind of a role playing game where you were in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Another game coming out, they're making a Wolverine video game.
I saw the trailer the other day. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Like the guy sitting at the bar, all of a sudden the spikes come out of the wrist.
I kicked everyone's ass in that bar. Like, what the fuck, bro?
So
He's the once man.
Have you played any of the Wolverine games? Not the Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but like the games focused based on Wolverine.
To be honest with you, the last time I played any game that involved Wolverine in a side scroller, at least that was X-Men 2 or X-Men Original for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, okay. I'm just asking. I'm just asking because, like, on the PS3 or 360 or something like that, Wolverine had his own video game.
Yeah, he did at one point. I'm not sure which one though. I'm not sure which exact game he was by himself in, but he was in those X-Men side-scrolling games from the 90s.
Right, but Wolverine had his own video game. Sometimes you'd play as him with as human, but like he still had his claws. You could use them without getting hurt. So this game looks like it's going to be great. There's a Spider-Man game. It looked like red and blue Spider-Man and black and red Spider-Man working together. Then all of a sudden Venom enters the fray.
Spider-Man 2 is called.
Yeah. What do you think? Did you see the trailer for that game?
I believe so. I can't remember the exact details. I watched so much videos of so many different kinds of news and information during the Tokyo, not Tokyo, but during the Gamescom of the PlayStation Showcase, I think it's called.
Right.
So. Yeah,
I caught the highlights where these trailers and others were discussed. Spider-Man, he's had great games. Wolverine. Actually, you made me curious. What was Wolverine? Let's see, video games based on Wolverine.
I have the X-Men game, side-scrolling game for the Game Gear as well. That one's pretty good. Unfortunately, my Game Gear lost sound to it, so I don't have no sound coming out of my Game Gear anymore.
Okay. The game I played was X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Okay.
That game was good. So Wolverine. He's my favorite X-Men. So if they're making another game based on him, love to play it. The Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic just never really got into. I'm more of a Star Wars Battlefront kind of guy. But I'm really interested in Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
These are the kind of games that again, it's not enough games to make me want to get a PS5, but
here's the situation that I come in when I want to get the PS5, no matter what the problem is with the PS5. They have the Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to the PS5, both Part 1 as well as Part 2. Because the Part 1's already were released for the PS4 last year or two. And they're going to have Part 3 sometime next year or the following year, the latest.
Are they having a Final Fantasy VIII remake also?
No, just a Final Fantasy VII game. Because remember, Final Fantasy VII Remake, the game, is breaking up into about 3 or 4 or 5 parts. Last time we checked. And I told my friend from Coney Island, who's also a military guy. He's like a geek of the military, handling special weapons for the president all directly. And I told him that basically he told me that they will never have Final Fantasy VII complete. And I'm like, look what happened 5 years later. They finally have it completed.
Yeah.
Well, not yet complete, but they just started doing 1/3 or 1/4 or even 1/5 of the game. So.
Well, what about the Final Fantasy remakes on Xbox One? Are those complete or no?
Those are HD ports. They turn into HD graphics. Like they heighten the resolution, heighten the frame rate a bit, and may look like good in 4K for some copies. Not sure if it's in 4K really, but last time I checked, it was in 1080p. So
Okay. Well, but I mean, the full games that are offered on Xbox One and PS4 are they the full actual Final Fantasy 7 and 8, or?
well, for the Final Fantasy 7 remake, it's for the PC and for the PlayStation 4 for the time being. And they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna move the first part of Final Fantasy 7 remake for the PS5, make it up the resolution, the graphics, up the frame rate.
Okay.
So basically, I want to get the PS5 no matter what, even with my
Money situation.
with this, because we're gonna have a fourth stimulus check. You heard, right? You heard about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, sometime this year, no later than next year, early next year, we're gonna have a fourth stimulus check. It may not be a full guarantee, 100% right away, but over time, people have been petitioning. Ocasio Cortez kind of support the matter, along Chuck Schumer and all. So it's going to be another increase in our taxes, but the short term is that at least I can buy something that I can afford for the time being.
Yeah, people, you're going to have to pay more money, but at least you'll be getting money up front.
Yes.
Some of you, at least.
Yes. Yeah.
Next, did you hear about the PS5? Since we're talking about the PS5, and we're awfully excited, especially with the Wolverine game, Spider-Man 2. Did you hear about the cooling problems of the PS5?
I've heard about that it overheats itself very easily, like that did with the PS4. So yeah, it happens from almost every time with almost every major gaming company, whether it's Sony, Nintendo, or barely Nintendo, but definitely between Sony and Microsoft. Their first edition of consoles for that next generation is always a problem with the cooling system, or somehow, some way, always a problem.
Yeah. So a couple of points to take away. I'm reading an article based on it. The memory cooling could be better. This is a huge concern. The PlayStation 5 runs cooler with both side panels removed. Power consumption is exceptional. Noise isn't noticeable. The fan could run at higher RPMs to improve cooling at the cost of increased noise. But yeah, so but apparently the PS5 cooling system leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm just saying, with the CMOS chip and now the cooling system, are they building these systems to fail?
It's all about making the money the quickest way possible. It's not about efficiency or taking out times with developing the best product for anyone these days anymore. But it's all about making that quick buck as quick as possible and as much as possible in a short period of time.
Yeah. Maximize profits, minimize work.
Yes. Don't hire legitimate workers for your Blizzard Activision company anymore. Just cut them off after making the best World of Warcraft expansion, and that's it. And see what happens after that. Your color goes down and keeps going down the tubes. And what's going on right now with Activision and Blizzard? They're desensitizing their strength in numbers and in efficiency, and that's bad on their part in the long term.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, we talked about the CMOS chip. We talked the cooling system has problems. These systems overheat. People keep it in mind. These people who buy the consoles are going to want to play it for hours at a time.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not all of us are Twitch streamers that are going to play it for 18 hours straight, but the normal gamer wants to, as long as they don't have restrictions from the parent, are going to want to play it 2-3 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
Now, if these consoles are overheating, it's not going to end well. Great for the console manufacturer, because you screw. Look what happened with Sega. You screw the public over one too many times, and you're going to lose their trust.
Definitely.
Look at Sega after Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis was great, and then they said, okay, Sega CD is going to be the future. People have their opinions on Sega CD, some good, some bad. Then they were like, oh, 32X is going to be the future. 32X was doomed from the start. Oh, Sega Saturn's going to be the future. Not so much. Dreamcast is going to be the future. People were like, really, Sega? You expect us to believe you again? And unfortunately, Dreamcast was probably could have been the future. It was definitely probably the most advanced for its time, but too many people felt burned by believing Sega in the past.
It's a good thing they invited the Saturn and waited until the Dreamcast, asked for a month for the Dreamcast, because I know that's going to be the best system before Sega shuts down.
Yeah, it's a shame, because Sega Dreamcast had so many great games. I know some of those games were later released on other consoles like PS2, but Dreamcast really was what Sega was claiming. It's just they said it so many times about the Saturn, about the Neptune, which became the 32X, about the Sega CD, and it's just like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You wanted me to believe you 3 times and be disappointed 3 times.
Yeah, fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. And then fool me 3 times, shame on both of us.
Yeah. So people didn't want to take that 3rd time, be disappointed, and then take a 4th chance. That's why I think the Dreamcast failed. If Saturn, okay, have the Saturn as like the connect, as like to hold people over from the Sega Genesis to the Dreamcast. Sega CD, I like it, but I'm in the minority opinion. I know many people don't like it. 32X was a waste. Actually, the 32X was going to be its own standalone console at first.
I know about that specific part, but yeah. I mean, that surprised me right now, yeah, to the point like, wow, I can see that.
The 32X was going to be called the Sega Neptune. Don't know what their obsession with naming systems after planets were, but then they just made the 32X attachment instead of its own console.
It looked high-tech of its time back then when they had the 32X and a Mega Drive.
Yeah. Well, the Mega Drive, which is the Genesis in the States, that was great. I never met one person that hated the Sega Genesis itself. But I've also I don't remember meeting many people that have nice things to say about the Sega CD. The 32X is looked at like a failure. I was highly anticipating the Sega Saturn until I realized they didn't have many games for it. Mm-hmm. that would pull me over from. That would I was more interested like in Nintendo 64 and stuff. Right. Instead. But yeah, just if they had, keep the Sega CD, 32X should have been canceled, had the Sega Saturn, and then maybe people would have been willing to give the Dreamcast a chance.
Oh yeah.
But the Dreamcast, great, it's a shame, but hey, at least Sega went out on top, right?
Oh yes, indeed.
We were talking about chip limitations before. Did you know that limitations on PS5 consoles and Xbox Series consoles could last until 2023?
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised about 2023. I thought it would be till next year. But now it's another 2 years. Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about parts. I'm just talking about people who've been trying to get consoles but still haven't been able to. It could be hit and miss for you until 2023.
Yeah, it's all due to the lack of chips. I heard put into place for the systems.
Yeah, so I mean, again, it just goes back to what we were saying earlier. These systems should not have been released when they were. I would much rather these consoles like been released in 2023 and then have all these games released at launch.
Maybe a saturated market at first because of the fact that you got the Final Fantasy VII remake, you got Deathloop, you got Spider-Man 2. It's going to be a very flooded market if you release it all at the same time in 2023. So 2022 would have been the best date for everything, and then release it every couple months of each game. That means AAA title game, that is.
Well, I don't know about that because Nintendo, when Nintendo first came out in 1985 in America, there were 16 games available at launch.
Oh wow.
10 of them were pretty good, like Excitebike, Duck Hunt,
Mario Brothers.
Yeah, the first one. So, a lot of these games so I'm just saying, and it's surprising, although I kind of understand why. Nintendo had like all these games that most of them were anywhere from good to great, but they had all these games to pick from when the Nintendo first came out. But like when Super Nintendo came out, you had Super Mario World and Pilot Wings to choose from, and that was it at launch.
I see.
Yeah. And it's just like, you say it's oversaturating the market, but like, if people see all these great games already out, it's going to get a lot of the people who could afford the system but are holding off on it to just be like, oh, this is going to be out at launch, this is going to be out at launch, this is going to be out at launch. There's 3 games I want, on day one. And so, I wonder why no console's done that since the Nintendo.
Well, in the past, as of 20 years ago, there was like how many games coming out for every new generation of gaming or games. Like the PS2 had at least 20 games, 15 games, like you said. And especially with the Super Nintendo themselves, did the same thing back 10 years earlier, if not 15 years earlier, whatever the case may be. But now games gotten bigger in size and file size, bigger in its volumetric means and dense means too, meaning that the gameplay itself, instead of it being like 5 hours of gameplay, it's now 30 hours, 40, 50, sometimes even 100 hours if you want to complete the entire game with everything in it. And it's not the same like it once was back 25, 30 years ago, where if you beat Super Mario Bros. In one take, it'll be like not even 25, 30 minutes. So,
well, 25, 30 minutes if you were an expert at it.
Yeah, and that's after years upon years of practicing, avoiding those jumps, avoiding the guy with the sun and the cloud guy and shit, the fry guy, whatever he call himself. So,
yeah. So, but the thing is, I understand now, but I'm just saying for this kind of situation we're in, they could have just made the games and been like. And it. I think like now would have been the best time to do it. Okay, I understand why, but Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, they only had 2 games available at launch. Again, it was Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64. I don't know what they love so much about Pilot Wings, but I'm just saying, like with the situation that we're in, it's not a normal situation. So I feel like, delay the systems until most people can get their hands on them, till stores won't be running out of stock, and just keep creating the games so that when the systems do come out, there's a whole lot of games to choose from other than 2. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. So do you think I'm wrong, or do you think like this kind of situation would have been best to have tried that, where they keep making the games and they keep getting it ready for the next console, but they delay the console until it could have been widely available.
I guess. I mean, it's iffy because this is the first time ever we've experienced this matter of
Right.
the chip shortage. That's very rare in gaming history. Oh, sure, Odyssey, ColecoVision, Atari, they never really had problems releasing because they already prepared by ahead of time, even though regardless of the game crashes of their time. But in today's world, it's all about advancements in how high tech the system is, or these certain chips in the game itself. So it's all a new experience, and hopefully within the next 5 years, things will settle out. Everything from all the console the cycling of new consoles coming out. So that way, within 5 years, they come out with a new console or a new upgrade to the console and stuff like that. So it's all iffy right now.
Well, the bottom line is, if you've been trying to get your hands on a console and you haven't been able to, there's nothing suggesting that your struggle's going to end soon.
I see.
So, so just keep trying, I guess.
Yeah.
We want to talk about this one. China restricts gameplay for minors to 1 hour a day on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. The time is between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. their time.
Yeah, that sucks for them because now it's like now that the servers are going to crash like hell between those times of those days, especially the weekends of Saturday, Friday night, Saturday night, and a Christmas Day night, Black Friday night, Easter Sunday night. It's gonna be a madhouse on those times of days.
Yeah, and that's but the thing is, for a long time, consoles were illegal over there.
They were?
I know they would paid for people to have like consoles that didn't connect online.
Okay.
So, because the government would have no way to control it unless they went to everyone's house,
Which is impossible.
Huh?
Which is almost impossible because there's a billion people in China.
Right. Exactly. How many houses could you hit? It'd take days just to reach everyone once.
Oh, sure.
So,
the military
yes.
is very controlling and very strict, but there's only so much they can do towards the people.
Well, China is communist. That's why we don't want communism or socialism here in the States.
Happening still anyway.
So that's So that's why these idiots that try to bring it, they don't even know what they're asking for.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think it's just awful because their restrictions were strict, but they weren't this strict. They just got more strict now. And 1 hour a day on days they say at a certain time, and that's it.
I see.
Not much we could say except don't bring that shit here.
Yes.
Speaking of idiots that want that kind of stuff to come, Kotaku wrote an article defending China, limiting how much gameplay people could play. Basically, Kotaku wrote an article supporting China's decision and how China runs things.
I see.
What do you have to say about that?
Oh, they are becoming political, Kotaku, that's for certain. Well, not whoever, but Richard Review USA, Heels versus Babyface of YouTube. These guys mentioned it, saying that Kotaku and other game-related sources and news source sites are becoming too political, too one-sided, and too pro-communist or too pro-Satanist in a sense. They want everyone to have the same exact opportunities, knowing that no one can reach that at the same time at any given time. There's just no way. And I understand, we believe here in the United States in equality, open opportunities, equal opportunities, but at the same time, not everyone will have the same exact fortune or the same exact opportunities. And people have to acknowledge that as Americans, each one of us. Because even though
Well-
I'm not changing the subject here, but although I'm not changing the subject exactly, but when I was working for Subway sandwiches, I know for a fact I'm at the bottom of the food chain. And oh sure, as long as I can buy my food, as long as I can buy my video games, as long as I pay rent, expenses, I should be fine, right? No big deal. But then these other kids who never worked before say that, oh, I want free this and free that. Like, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, if you want that free shit, go to Canada or even China. If it's worse than there.
Yeah. Just like the old argument, if it's so great over there, why don't you go over there instead of bringing it here?
Yeah, I worked my ass off to get the Xbox 360 back in 2008. It took me about 2 months to save up for that system. And by the day of, I got the console. I was so excited. I hooked it up. I played for hours, well, not literally hours, but I played for about a couple of hours. And then by the weekend, I played lots and lots of hours of Halo 3 and all. And after a while, I started get a collection of games. Then I had to sell it, because of toilet paper and other economic hardships, at the time for myself. I was having a hard time paying rent with my aunt, so it was that hard for me to maintain a decent collection of entertainment. But it comes with a price. But with the freedom, but if you make things so free for everyone, no one's not free then. It's kind of strange. I can't explain it. Like, if you make everything for free games, free drinks, free food, and all, it's not going to last long. Because everyone is too greedy after that.
Well, if everything is free, no one's going to work to produce that item, whether it's a drink or a food or means of entertainment.
Yeah.
That's why they go whenever some idiot says, "Oh, well, this should be free." That's like, okay, who's going to create the item for free? Who's going to test the item for free? Who's going to,
And it has to be based on trust and anti-abuse. You can't just make sure. You can't just make sure that they don't get paid for nothing. I mean, what that means is that every single person in in that country that's pro-communist, they have to do their fair share of work, no matter what. Literally.
Yeah. And also, if just to add on to that, if you're in a communist country, I think they give you a job, and I think you have to do that job. You don't have a choice of what job you work. You do what they tell you to do.
Pretty much.
And just to go on about what you said, like equal opportunity. Yeah, not everyone's going to have the same results in America, but look at someone like Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in poverty. She grew up in a real poor city, and look what she became. She became one of the richest women probably in all of America.
In any America's history, says Ida B. Wells or even Susan B. Anthony, maybe.
Yeah, and the thing is, for people who are going to say, well, Oprah Winfrey had a show. Yeah, she had one show. When was her show last on? The 90s?
2011 is her last show. Publicly on TV, on the regular TV.
Was that a rerun or was that a new episode?
Her last episode aired publicly to everyone was 2011, and by 2012 or 13, she opened up the Oprah network to other vendors. So she has a larger audience to pay for the channel on their cable services. So.
Okay, yeah, but the thing is, I was getting the one dates for her first and last episode, and I see first thing that comes up is Oprah Winfrey Network. But the thing is, okay, she had a show. It lasted, 25 years. But the thing is, she didn't stop at that show. She wrote books. She created specials like cooking, and she created other shows on top of the ones she was doing. She created, she created basically an empire. She was given a little help from the beginning, and she created a fortune for herself.
All thanks to the good old finances of networking.
But the thing is, since she can do that, anyone else of us can do that too. Any one of us can hit it big on Twitch with whatever show we want to create, as long as it doesn't, as long as Twitch isn't upset with us. Any one of us can create a show on any video platform, whether it be Vimeo, whether it be Rumble, whether it be BitChute, YouTube. I wouldn't suggest YouTube nowadays, but the point I'm making, with all these video platforms that allow us to upload videos and Twitch that allows us to upload streams, we can create the next show, and and we all have a chance of it becoming the next big hit.
Definitely.
That's now, will everyone become a hit? Unfortunately, no. But, everyone at least has that chance.
Yeah. And come to think about gaming platforms starting to turn into these political, ideological platforms now for these journalists, you want to call them.
Okay.
This wasn't the case 5-10 years ago, especially over 10 years ago, because back in the 2000s when IGN, later Kotaku, VG247, Game Informer, they were all about video games, almost pretty much like 90% of the time, and at 10% of the time usually some stuff like movies, comic books. But that's very rare. That's very rare back then. But now it's more prevalent in the Game Informer magazines and now other sources. But other than that, in today's world, it's all about politics in games. And yes, there are politics in games since the beginning, almost since with Metal Gear Solid and fucking Power Rangers. See, the video game maybe, if you want to include politics in it, I don't know how. But anyway, it's always something trying to make it political, and it's like, yes, I admit that I put politics into my platform too with my video game gameplay and stuff like that. But that's sometimes, and the only time I do that is like with my my main YouTube channel and my BitChute channel, and that's it. And on my gaming channel, which I have a new one right now, I try to make sure to put nothing but game content on there, or gaming content, excuse me. And it's like, I don't want to be like, some hypocrite, but at the same time, they have to understand that that's for a niche audience. You can't do that for your entire, 2+ million circulation, or your 1+ million circulation of the content that you circulate on the internet. It's just no way. Now, if you want to do it for about a fifth of that, do a little section on the website. I said this is politics game section, and that's it. That's it. But don't put everything about politics for every article of every news source. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like for people who want to become journalists, it costs almost nothing to create your own website, especially for people who make if you want to make like a blogging website or a vlogging website. Most of those websites cost almost nothing to create. You gotta pay maybe anywhere between like $5 for the builder, and some websites you can get like a domain for your own custom domain, your own custom web link for a year for like $6 for the first year.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to create your own website with blogging or with your interest, whatever it may be, you don't even have to rely on these platforms. You could always create your own. And creating your own platform that's for many people to use, yeah, that'll cost money, that'll take time. But for something for you, for your own personal space, and maybe friends, if they want to, submit content to your website, it doesn't take much to create it. And it doesn't take much money to create it, at least for the first year.
Okay.
So I think, it's that's what a lot of people today don't get is, yeah, Oprah Winfrey made it big, but now it's much easier. But with all the technology since she became famous, up to today, it's much easier for other people to become famous too.
And if not famous, but at least be well mentioned by a select few people, and you gain momentum and making money through that audience or group of people that follow you on certain aspects or certain platforms and such.
Right. That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're about to go. We got one last story. Amica Games quits after Steam's return policy is abused. What happened here? Amica Games, game developer, they released a game on Steam. The game takes maybe an hour, anywhere from like 60 to 90 minutes to beat it.
Okay.
Steam has a policy where they say if you played the game for less than 2 hours and you don't like the game, you can get a full refund.
Ooh.
Well,
I heard about that.
since the game takes only 60 to 90 minutes to beat, people could play the full game, and then if they wanted to be dishonest, they could get a refund saying they didn't like it or whatever. And Amica Games said they had to close up shop. They couldn't handle all these refunds coming back because people played their game and beat it before Steam's deadline.
And they have to now they're going to sue Steam most likely or Valve or whoever the company is, which one, either or both, to get their money back or get whatever remarkable remarks from them, if you want to call it like that.
That's if the company is still available. I think Amica Games just is disbanded now.
So even though the leaders or the executives are still around, they're not going to file a lawsuit for the matter.
I don't think so because I don't think so. It says Amica Games leaves the industry indefinitely. So basically the 2-hour policy, which is a good policy. It's for some games. It bit Amica Games in the butt and allowed their game to basically be stolen.
Yeah, it sucks to be them. That's why in today's world, the most games, like at least 75% of the games made in today's world are at least 5 hours long in length. In my perspective, based on my experience, because like I said earlier, back in the 2000s, no, not 2000s, like the 1990s, 80s, and 70s, when those platformer games came out, like Galaga, Namco's Pole Position, Namco's what's like the Dig Dug and stuff like that. That if you play it straight within a matter of like not even 2 hours, you beat the game. But now in today's world, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, what's it called, Watch Dogs, even Homefront, the Homefront Revolution game, the second one, that's at least like 7-8 hours of mainstream gaming. Not to mention the other 40, 30, even 50 hours extra of side quests or side story or even side content of the game itself. So.
Well, I'll pick up and these short games still have a say. I think just Steam and like other online platforms, like instead of having like a set time limit, they should offer like half the game or 3/4 of the game, and be like, if you want to access the other 50% or the final 25% of the game, you have to buy it with no refund. That's what I think. That's what I think they should do, because not only would it save something like Amica Games from going through this again, or another indie developer, games like Witcher 3 Wild Hunt that's a 100-hour game, you would get 50 to 75 hours before you had to pay for it, depending on how long Steam lasted. If they incorporated this system, saying, okay, you get to play a certain percentage of the game for free, but if you want the rest of the game, you have to pay for it with no refund. I think that's what they should do. I don't know what fraction would be a good fraction where people could get a good taste of the game and still find value in purchasing the rest of the game. but I think that's what Steam and other online platforms should do.
Or they can
On a
make
game,
or they can just create a demo mode for it and say,
yeah,
play demo mode first, and after the 30-minute limit, you say you like to play the game more, pay for the full version, and that's great. But what I meant to say about the 75%, I'm saying 75% out of all games made in today's world is at least 5 hours long, like Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, and what else? Games like Meat Boy, games like Master Chief Collection. That's at least 40 hours worth of mainstream gameplay if you want to play the campaign alone. So and the multiplayer is limited almost. It's limitless because
it's unlimited once you multiplayer.
Yeah, I've been at the Halo 3 of the Master Chief Collection multiplayer ranked leagues for about 4 or 5 years now, and I'm only stuck up to level 16. I keep going back over to 16, 9, 16, 8, 15, 13. It's a back and forth between those ranges of numbers. I never get past 16 for some strange reason. That's how challenging it is. That's good. So they got the players hooked for that matter. So if they could do that with this Emeka Games shit back during its time when it was still on the market, they should have made a demo version mode first, and then once you finish the demo mode, and then you buy the game if you want it. That's their policy that they should do from now on for these small games. That's even better. When I got A Plague Tale Innocence, the demo, it was just the first level, and then they had a little cutscene, which was a trailer for the rest of the game. And then they said, if you want, buy the full game, and I immediately did, and it was all thanks to that demo. So that I didn't even think of that. A demo for like these shorter games would even work. They did it with Nexus. Nexus, Red Scarlet Nexus. That game, they sell it for about $65. For the Xbox One PS4 editions. But if you want to play the demo before the release though of the game, if you play the demo before the release date, you get like a special charm or a special attachment to the game, whatever it's called, like those special costumes or special missions, whatever. That's a good incentive to do for people as well to try out the game prior to the matter, because I still have the information for my demo, even though it lasted 45 minutes. That's the maximum time that you only play is 45 minutes of the game. And it says, thank you for watching or playing. Please buy our game at full price at this store or whatever. And that's it. That's perfect. So
that's honestly maybe that's what they should do. These online marketplaces like Steam should do for indie developed games. Just when an indie developer wants their game on Steam, just let Steam know, hey, this is a 2-hour game. Just, give them, the first level or whatever, and make them pay after that, because they can beat the game in 2 hours.
Speaking of time limits on games, the PlayStation Store actually had at that moment of selling games by the hour or by the day or by the half a day. So if you want to play for 2 hours, 3 hours, you spend like $1 or $2. If you want to play half a day, it's about $10 or $5. If you want to play for a week, it's going to be about $30, something of that sort. And once you beat all those hours and days, you can buy the whole game as a whole for an extra $30, $40, $50. It costs more money to spend for rental matters. You want to keep playing over and over, but you're going to get a bang for your buck because it's a bigger game, like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And Blockbuster could have done something like that if they stayed in business too. But
right, that's actually, but I mean, they don't even need to do that now with consoles. They could just release demos online.
Oh yeah.
If you're connected to Xbox Live or Xbox Network as it's called, or PlayStation's store, they should just release demos for free. And then that problem would, I know Steam is PC, but I'm talking for like consoles. They should release these demos for free, and then people would buy. Then people would buy the game if they liked it.
Oh yeah.
I remember one time I had a demo for WWF Warzone on PlayStation. You could play one match: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels. They had Stone Cold cutting a FMV promo, and that was the only match you could play as on the demo. Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, games to talk about demos like back in 97, 98. They could do even, depending on the game, I think they should do something like that.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a petition to Valve and Steam. Let them know that like your system is flawed. I mean, it's not entirely flawed or not entirely abused, but it's plausible to be abused by many cheapskates, cheap customers. Because I admit that I'm one of those cheap customers where I buy something for about $5 that used to be worth $50 like 3 years ago. So that type of stuff. But that's very rare for me to do that these days because I have the money for it right now to spend $30, $40 if I really want to every month or two. All I just do is save. So you'll eventually find people with extra money who want to spend the extra cost to have that good game in their possession. But don't be like all like loose about it, refund policy because people will take advantage of it. So it's a back and forth, a balance between the makers, the sellers, and the buyers and gamers. So
yeah. So Steam and Valve and these other platforms, they really need to look at their policy, especially when it comes to games from indie developers that are not going to be that long and that really can't take a hit like Emigrant Games did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not really at the moment. I'm about to watch the Fortnite trailer after we stop recording because it's a new content coming out. They're coming out with Chapter 2, Season 7 of the matter. So.
Okay, I'm probably going to be recording a Let's Play on South Park: The Stick of Truth. Our next podcast will be 2 weeks from tonight. On September 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, I try to stream every night, but follow me on BitChute. Also, links in my Twitch profile. Because if I don't stream, I at least try to upload a Let's Play.
And I myself, if I may add too, I stream too, guys, but not as often as James. So I'll stream it on average once every 2 weeks for about an hour to 2 hours at the most. And
besides the podcast.
Yeah, besides the podcast, especially, yes. And sometimes I'll let you guys know days beforehand about recordings as well. So that's how little I record on my own end for streaming.
Yeah, if you want to catch my gameplay streams, just follow me on Twitch. Subscribe to me on BitChute so you catch my Let's Play videos. And hopefully I'll see you for the podcast in 2 weeks on September 25th at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Definitely will.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.